Which sports nutrition industry trends do I predict will be the biggest in 2021? So this is my third annual list that I've compiled for one of these like predictive end of year piece of content. You guys have enjoyed these, and specifically this one has gotten a lot of attention over the years, and last year's was actually published along with an article about myself in Prepared Foods magazine. So I'm hoping that I can kind of keep living up to that standard in terms of these sports nutrition trend predictions. I put a lot of work into these, and I try my best to compile interesting lists each year. I do not allow myself to carry any over from last year. That makes it more challenging, also makes it more interesting for you guys. I try to maybe not do any layups, especially in sports nutrition, because this is where I've cut my teeth. This is where I have the most experience, and the most amount of my followers are in that ecosystem. So they're looking at me and saying, hey, what does Josh have to say? And hopefully I can live up to that standard again this year. If you guys are interested in seeing how I've done over the last couple of years, I did make a post recently on my Instagram. Just need to search my name, Joshua_Schall. You guys will see me there. Make sure you guys are following me on my social media, especially Instagram. I've been posting a lot of just highlights and different takes on some of the content that you guys might be seeing on YouTube or my podcast. But not to waste any more time, in no particular order, I want to give you guys my top 5 trend predictions for the sports nutrition industry for 2021. The first one is going to be a little bit interesting for you guys to hear me talk about, and this is around, what's that TLC song, Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls? Well, this is Don't Go Chasing Trends. Now, this is a video about trends, and I'm telling you not to follow trends. That's kind of weird, right? But I started to see something happening this year in 2020 that I am predicting is going to just get bigger next year, and I don't necessarily think it's a good thing. I usually have trends that are good in these videos. This one is not necessarily all that good. This is more of a warning shot for sports nutrition brands in the industry, and I cannot fault any sports nutrition brand or any business as a whole to try their best to pivot and look for opportunities and try to find revenue opportunities, especially after a year like we had in 2020. But what I fear is that people are chasing these trends. They're looking at things that are on trend first without considering if it's on brand first. You need to look at your North Star and is this on brand first, and then is it on trend? If it's not on brand and on trend, odds are you should probably leave it on the cutting room floor. It should be something for somebody else. Or maybe you create a different brand, a sub-brand, a portfolio strategy, create another entity, something like that to take advantage of it. If you think it's something that you can really attack and meet the standards of those consumers, or that subcategory or niche of consumers extremely well. If not, you're not going to do your brand any justice, and you're just going to be chasing short-term revenue that ultimately will dilute your brand in the long-term perspective. You're serving the wrong master. You're serving short-term revenue and not the brand. You're not considering your brand as an asset. And in this extremely competitive category right now, your brand is everything. It is what consumers are going to be able to look at you and say, what is that brand about? If they're not able to answer that question in a snap of the fingers, they're not going to purchase products from you. They're just going to move on to somebody else, be that somebody that's cheaper, or be that somebody that is representing them as a person and personifies what they're about much better. Brands today are really just extensions or accessories of personal brands, people. So they're looking for things that connect with them. Now, that's not all purchases, but if you're going to be a brand and you're not going to be focused on the lowest cost offering, you need to focus on strengthening your brand and your brand story and message and everything over and over and over again. So leave those trends alone. Don't go chasing those trends this year, even though it might be attractive in the short term for your business, because your customers are going to look at you in 2022 or maybe in 2021 and thinking, who is this brand? And you're going to speed up that legacy brand issue that I look at a lot and talk about a lot, and people say, I'll never be like that. You're going to be like that a lot quicker than you think if you follow that. The second sports nutrition industry trend prediction for 2021 is that vibes will be commercialized. This year, you're going to hear a lot about people's emotions. So instead of your brand needing to focus on maybe use occasions that are surrounding the gym or maybe surrounding an eating schedule, you're going to need to focus around what are those desired vibes that your consumer is looking for. So these are going to be different use occasions. These are going to be trying to get different feelings out of a consumer in a lot of cases with some of these products that you're going to see start to really catch fire in 2021. So sleep relaxation is going to be a huge one. I think 2020 really proved that sleep relaxation as a whole is something extremely important. I think there's a ton of burnout that's happening right now. So you're also going to be looking at like stress relief and calming and things to help with anxiety and a lot of other things like that to try to get people to be on a more chill vibe and really kind of get through a lot of the stresses that are going to continue to happen in 2021. You're also going to see a ton of products, I think, around like sexual desire and sexual wellness. I think overall people are more accepting and okay with talking about a lot of those things more often. So sports nutrition companies or just supplement companies as a whole will need to start to think about that and really try to address that in a way that is approachable and provides a solution towards consumers that are looking for those things. So overall, I think vibes is going to be something that people are going to need to pay attention to. Those are going to be things that people are looking for. They're going to be searching for different vibes. Is there any products that can help them with some of these things? Obviously, there's pharmaceutical ingredients or pharmaceutical things that they can be looking at, but I don't necessarily think that people are always wanting to go that. So more holistic health and wellness mentalities are going to drive some of the decisions with consumers that are going to blend into the sports nutrition industry in 2021. The third trend prediction that I have for the sports nutrition industry for 2021 is that linear commerce explodes. Now, the lines between media and commerce are fading, and forward-leaning entrepreneurs are starting to realize that. The ones that aren't, they do business a little bit differently. They are essentially paying their audience to come to the party. They're paying their consumers to come and show up at the party. And each year, it costs them more to pay those consumers to show up to their party. That cannot continue. I think with the competitive nature of the sports nutrition category, margins, even though they are hefty at the beginning in terms of gross, are going to start to get beat down more and more and more. And it's just not sustainable to think about business in the same way. Smarter businesses and entrepreneurs are going to connect content and commerce in a way to optimize for audience and sales conversion. This is one reason why influencer-owned or influencer-led brands will continue to flourish in the sports nutrition industry, and it's just getting started. If you think about that and you think, wow, this is all over the place already, it's not even scratching the surface to where this is going to be, not only in the sports nutrition industry, but just all consumer categories as a whole. But since this video is about sports nutrition, I'm going to focus on that one for you guys. In the short term, traditional or legacy brands in the space will do their best to continue to kind of shortcut this process. Maybe they're going to be leaning on influencers more, leaning on strategic partnerships more, going deeper on those. But it all eventually needs to lead up to one thing, and they need to think about how do we develop media as a huge core competency and strength within our business to compete with brands at the highest level. If you're not going to think about yourself as a media company that sells X, you're not going to sustain relevancy and not continue your business at the highest level in the industry for much longer. So I think 2021, you're going to see a ton of brands start to finally flip their head and start to think about this in a much different way. The fourth sports nutrition industry trend prediction that I have for 2021 is that you're going to see the industry look at the word athlete in a much more inclusive way. Traditional sports, traditional athletics stopped. Every single sport stopped. And because of that and our human desire to see competition, see athletics, you started to see a lot of other forms of competition being broadcast and people starting to look at competition, looking at athletics much differently. You also had gyms that were closed across the country, sports nutrition brands and their thought and usage of gym content and all of those things. It became broken. It was not usable. It wasn't something that you could lean on anymore. So the question is like, who are athletes today? And this is kind of a bigger thing that also thinks about like, what is sports nutrition? Is it active nutrition? And all these kind of questions that need to be answered and needs to be answered quick by the industry. You're seeing a ton of growth in brands start to offer products towards like gamers or esports athletes. Are those athletes? I believe they are. I think that the industry is going to continue to kind of focus on them as a viable sub niche and authentically lean into that area more. I think you also are having more of like the competitive connected fitness companies, users of those products like Peloton or Mir. Are those athletes? I think again, they are, and you're going to need to really look at them as athletes and how do you communicate with them? What's your tone? What's your messaging? How are you going to be utilizing that in marketing? Also, just getting out of the traditional like four walls of a gym. What the gym experience became in 2020, and I think more people looking at outside fitness activities. Brands are going to need to adjust. They're going to need to look at this, and they need to be more inclusive in terms of their product. It's not just lifters. It's not just people looking to get ripped or get huge in the gym. All that stuff needs to be left way in the history. It needed to be for a while, but this year in 2020, a lot of people got hit straight in the face by that information. So I'm hoping in 2021, there's a lot more inclusivity in terms of how the sports nutrition industry as a whole looks at athletes and how they're going to approach both the product development, the marketing, and just overall business practices to meet the demands of these new consumers in the market. Then the final sports nutrition industry trend prediction for 2021 is that biohacking becomes more convenient. So each of the last couple of years, I've tried my best to integrate personalized nutrition in some way or another because I know that's going to be the future. It's something that's going to take a while for people to really wrap their heads around and realize how disruptive it's going to be. But each year I try my best to kind of add little spins and ways that will introduce you to the concept in a different way. And this convenience biohacking is one way to kind of look at this. If you look at just the connection between personalized nutrition, personalized medicine, how that can all move together. If you just look at like some of the acquisitions that Nestle in their Nestle Health Sciences division has done, you'll start to get inspired to think about what this could ultimately become. But in the short term, you're going to start to see the emergence of more brands that are similar to maybe like in the US, you might be familiar with Soylent, or in the UK, Huel, but looking at maybe even meal replacements as more than fats, proteins, and carbs, because after a year like 2020, where health really was kind of put right in front of people's faces and them needing to look at preventative care, I think modern wellness lifestyles as a whole are going to become bigger. And as consumer mobility starts to increase again, you're going to look at the convenience value proposition more importantly again, and consumers are going to be interested in getting a lot of those required daily nutrients that are optimized to their modern wellness lifestyles in the most efficient way possible. Sports nutrition products have always been geared towards increasing or improving performance. But what if you think about today, consumers looking at sport as life, and can you optimize life? If sports nutrition brands can think about optimizing today's modern consumers' lives in a much different way and not just thinking about spiking somebody's metabolism or giving them like a huge amount of energy before workout or maybe replenishing the glycogen and protein post-workout. If you look at this as a more holistic, a more modern approach to what performance is looking like, there's going to be a ton of opportunities for sports nutrition brands to look at the industry in a much different way. Now, what did you guys think of my top 5 list, sports nutrition industry trend predictions for 2021? Did you guys have other interesting ones to think about or ones maybe that I forgot about this year? I would love for you guys to engage with me on any of my social media. Just search my name and you'll be able to find and engage with me on the content that I post surrounding this video. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, I would love if you guys left a comment with the video down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to help support me, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button on this video. If this is the first time you've been introduced to my videos, would love for you guys to be a part of my community by subscribing to my channel. I upload several videos just like this weekly. And if you guys want to connect further outside of this platform, I do include all of my social media links down below. I just want to thank you guys again for your time. Hopefully I gave you some value in return, and we'll see you guys on the next video.